Yes, my name is Vivek, and in this video tutorial we are going to talk about transactional control transformation. As I've done in my previous videos as well, I'm going to explain this with a real practical scenario that actually happens in real-time projects. So we are talking about an insurance company that has 10 different departments, or maybe 15 or 20, that actually make the sale for that particular department. So now we are talking about a month-end scenario. For example, Vivek, he is the head of department number 10, and that particular department has 6 employees who are selling the policies for the company. So Vivek wants the detail of all the transactions, all the policies that are being sold by these 6 employees. He wants a file for that. Similarly, another guy, Ankit, who is the head of department number 20, he wants the detail for that. Pooja wants the detail for department number 30, and so on. So the respective department heads wants the information of all the sales that are being done by their employee who belong to their department. So here we have 3 sources, and we are going to rag them now, pull them. I'm talking about the HR schema. So the first one is the date details. The second one that we have is employees, and the third one that we have is transaction. I'm going to import the definition of all these tables. I've imported them. Let's just quickly preview the data of these 3 tables. The first one is transactional. So it actually contains the policies that are being sold. We have the date when they were sold and the amount that was paid. It's not visible here, but the underlying table has it, and the employee that made that particular sale. So from here we are getting the transactional data. Let's see the employee data as well quickly. So here we have the employee data, the employee, the name, salary, their phone number, that kind of stuff, and the department, which is crucial here because we want to actually gather the data for a particular department and send it to its manager. Let's see why this date details table is required. Let's preview the data. So this date detail has a single record for every single day of the year. So if you see, currently we have the data for 2018, what month that particular date belongs to, January, in numeric form, what year it belongs to, what was the day, that kind of stuff. So what we want to do is we want to gather the data for September 2017. In the previous table we only have the date, so we are going to join it with the date table and identify the data for September, and the year should be 2017. We are going to do that, and we are going to join our employee table to the transaction table based on the employee ID. And what kind of information we want? We want the policy ID of the policy that is being sold, the amount, the employee who sold that policy, the department number, and the month, that kind of stuff. So let's create a mapping quickly. We will drag all our 3 sources. Now what kind of details I want? First of all, since they belong to a single database, so I can get rid of 2 of the source qualifier. So I'm going to delete these 2. Guys, if you don't understand the basics of Informatica, I'll recommend that there are other tutorials that I've made where I've explained the basics of Informatica. You go ahead and visit them first so that you understand what's going on right now, and then you can always come back and watch this video. So What kind of information we want? We want the employee ID, we want, let's say, their salary, we want their salary, and we want their department ID, that's true. And then we want this data for a particular month, so I want that month in literals. And then what else I want? I want the policy ID that these people sent or these people sold, and the amount. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate a SQL. I'm going to override this with a SQL that gives the desired result that I want. So I'll generate the SQL. Now it's smart enough to automatically join these three tables. I'll give them alias, but the join conditions are incorrect, and I'm going to rectify that. So I'm going to give this an alias A, or maybe I'll just keep it this way. So what do I want? I want the employee ID, that's fine. I want the salary, the department ID, and the transaction ID, the policy ID and the transaction amount. Fair enough. Now what should be my join condition? The employees table should be joined on the employee ID with the transactional table, and the date table should be joined on current date. So I'm just going to quickly convert into character, both of them. And I want to see only the records that belong to the month September. Let's make sure that our query is correct by running it in the database. So our query is correct, we are getting the records. Now if you see that the employee ID 100, 101, 102, it belongs to the department ID 90. Now we need to do one more thing. We need to make sure that this is ordered by the department ID, because that will help us in the transactional control transformation, because we want to send the data of a particular department to a particular person. So I've sorted the data now. If you see, the data has been sorted by department ID. So let's put this query back here. And let's understand now how the transactional control transformation works. So the idea behind transactional control transformation is that you segregate, or you order the data based on the column you want to create different files. So the transactional control transformation, first of all, it's used to segregate the data or generate different files. So a lot of time what happens is, let's say you're working for a telephone company, you are the data warehouse manager. So at the every month end, you need to generate separate files, the summary files that are to be sent to individuals. Like they have 1,000 customers, so each individual customer will receive an email that, okay, these are the calls that you made, that's why you were charged this much money, these are the SMS that you sent, or this is your data usage, that kind of stuff. So all that details are being listed in transactional table. So what we can do is we can order them on the basis of customer ID and the phone number, and whenever the customer ID or the phone number changes, that means it's a new customer now, we will truncate the file then and there, and we will generate the next file after that. So it's actually used to create different files dynamically, and we will see that how. If it's not too clear yet, don't worry about it. It will be clear by the end of the tutorial. So here we will understand, or we will leverage Informatica ports. And before I show you, you need to remember three things. What's the order of computation in Informatica? The input ports are loaded first. The variable ports are loaded second. And the output ports are loaded third. The variable ports are computed in the order from top to bottom. So what we are going to do here is, for the sake of simplicity, let's take it down, department ID. I'm going to create a variable port here. And I'm going to assign it the department ID port. I'm going to create another variable, this time a variable flag, and it's gonna have a value new or old. And actually this is a very critical part, so guys, try to understand it, what's happening, and I'll explain through the debugger as well what exactly we are doing. So we are going to have a if condition. If v department ID is equals to department ID, then it's a old record, otherwise it's a new record or a new department, and we will understand what that means. And we are going to assign this flag to an output variable, output flag. This is an output port. Now I will run it in debugger mode to actually explain what's going on, because I'm sure right now it's not very clear. The thing that you have to remember is that the input ports are loaded first, the variable ports are loaded second, and the output ports are loaded last. The variable ports are loaded in the order from top to bottom. Then we have a transactional control transformation, which is represented by this symbol. I'm going to add this. I'm going to copy all these to transactional control. Here we can specify the properties of the transactional control. So it can actually take 5 values. TC continue transaction, which means don't do anything, continue the transaction. The next one is TC commit before. The third one is TC commit after. Then we have rollback before and rollback after. And we will see how we will use it to our leverage. I'll explain it more in detail when we run this in debugger mode. So we are going to add the if condition. If output flag is equals to new, then we are going to use commit underscore before. Let's validate this real quick. It's fine. Now I'm going to connect this to an expression, and I want a dynamic file name. So what I'll do is I'll give it a file name as well. But before we do that, let me just quickly generate a target. I created a target. So guys, for those of you who don't know, you can right click on an expression and use this option create and add target to add the target. So I created that. By default it's an Oracle target, so I'm going to convert it into a flat file. Let's just quickly do that. So I'm going to convert it into a flat file, and I'm going to change the column delimiter to pipe. Pipe is the most standard conventional delimiter used in projects. Now what you can do here is there is an option where you can add the file name dynamically, and for that you have to double click on your target transformation, go to columns and you check on this option and it'll add the file name for you. Click on apply, okay, save it. Now we got this. I'll add an output port here. I'll make it a string of 255. And let me just quickly give it a name, file underscore, and let me concatenate this to the department ID passed. Let's connect this further. Let's connect the entire thing, and our mapping should be valid. So our mapping is valid. Let me just quickly generate the workflow, and for those of you who don't know, you can generate the workflow using your designer as well. You right click on the vacant area and click on generate workflow. I want to generate it with a non-reusable session. I'll stay with that. I'll click on next and finish. Let's just open the folder, and the workflow that we want is, I guess this one. Let's verify. Yep, this is the workflow that we want. I'll just quickly verify that the connection are correct. So this is correct. This is correct. My SQL query is correct. I want the headers to be appended to the output files. Okay, fair enough. Let's save it. Now before I go ahead and run this session, I want to run it in debug mode to actually explain you guys what exactly happened, how the transaction control transformation it runs. So let's start our debugger. Oh, for some sake, I think my expression transformation, it's still Oracle, I think. Oh no, it's a flat file. So good. We're good there. I don't want to create a new session instance. I will use an existing one. Now this will actually clear all your doubts about how this will run. And actually this will clearly explain to you what happened there, how this was executed. This is the crux. So as you have noticed, we have ordered the data using department ID. So the very first record that we have is a sale that's being done by employee 200 that belongs to the department 10. when it goes to the expression transformation, the input ports are loaded first. The input ports are loaded first. Now, if you remember, the condition in the flag is, this will be calculated first, that if my variable department is blank as of now. So guys, you need to remember this. You need to recall this, that the input ports were loaded first, the variable ports will be loaded second, and they will be loaded in a sequential order. So when this V flag is to be calculated, V department ID is not yet loaded. It has a garbage value, and the output flag, it will be loaded last. So for the first record, it said that the value is n because 10 is not equals to a garbage value. So the n was set here, then we got 10, and the output flag was set as n because it's the same variable flag. Let's move ahead. So in the transaction control transformation, I have specified that if it's an n, TC commit before. That means commit the transaction before, generate me a new file. But we don't have any transaction prior to this, so no file will be generated as of now. Let's move ahead. It went to the transaction table. It gave it a name, file underscore 10. It wrote the first record to the file underscore 10. Now as we move ahead, it's an insert. Now we got another record for the department ID 10. Let's move ahead. It's an old record. That means we will continue the transaction. So now the transaction control transformation should say TC continue. That means the transaction will be continued. Let's go forward. We got another record with 10. It will say the same thing. So we have a bunch of records that are with 10. Let's see when it will change. Let's run it. Now the value has changed. See, we have the department number 20. So earlier we were having the flag as O. That means it was an old record. Now we have N. So it means that the previous file should be committed and new file should be created. Let's move forward and see if it happens. So it says that commit before. That means the previous file will be committed, and as I move forward, a new file underscore 20 has been generated. As we move forward, the same thing is going to happen. Let's see. So this is again department number 20. It's an old record. That means the transaction will be continued and the file name will be the same. So you see, as long as the department ID is the same, the employee belongs to the same department, we are writing constantly to a single file. As soon as the department is changing, the previous file is being committed using TC commit before. If I use TC commit after, that's going to create an issue because that particular transaction which belongs to a different department will also be returned to that file. We don't want that because now that it's a new department, so we have used TC commit before. So let's just quickly close the mapping and let's run this session and see if we get a file for all the workflows, for all the departments, if we get the files. So let's see, this has succeeded. Let me see if the files have been generated. So if you see, all these files have been generated that belong to that particular department. Let's edit them. So this contains only the department 10. This particular contains the detail for department 20 and so on. So it's actually very vital, especially in case you want to segregate the department, segregate the data on the basis of a particular columns. It actually comes in very handy for month end. You can actually, instead of bursting the data using a reporting tool, at times you have to load a or you have to send almost the entire transactional data. So instead of adding an additional reporting layer on top of that, you can do that using transactional control transformation. You have a table. Using that table, like whatever column you want to use for bursting, use that particular column in transactional control transformation, sort the data on the basis of that particular column. As soon as the column value changes, use tc commit before, otherwise continue the transaction and it will generate the files for you. So guys, this particular transformation, it's very helpful. It's different from router transformation in a way. You can achieve the same thing using a router transformation as well if you have a well-defined set of data. If you know that you only have 10 departments and they are constant, they are never going to change, then you can create 10 groups. But again, that's a tedious process. You'll have to create 10 groups, and in case if a new department is added, you'll have to go back and modify that. So this transactional control transformation provides you the flexibility of that particular stuff. You can create multiple files using this. And there are, I mean, this is one advantage of that, but this is one thing that I have used in my real-time projects where this transactional control transformation was used. We used to send a lot of data, and that was bursted using BO, which was taking a hell lot of time because it's an overhead, right? And then what we did is we used Informatica and we used transactional control transformation to sort the data based on department and the month, and we used to send that data to the department owners. So I hope guys that this video was clear enough for you guys. In case if you still have any questions related to transactional control, you can let me know in the comment sections and I'll try to help you out on those. Please do subscribe to my channel. I'm constantly uploading new content and I hope that it will be valuable for you guys. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs like. Your comments, your likes and your subscription, it actually keeps me motivated to come up with more such content. Thanks a lot guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.